Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining. My name is Rakhi Voria. I'm the Chief of Staff to the Corporate Vice President of Inside Sales at Microsoft, and I'm also a member of the AA-ISP and a huge supporter of it. I'm super excited to be joined here by Matthew Pollard, who's also known as the Rapid Growth Guy, and is also the author of this book called The Introverts Edge. I know this book was one of the best-selling books on Audible. It's on the top 10 charts for Amazon, so very excited for you. But tell us a little bit about why you wrote the book and some of the key messages.
Definitely. I think the biggest reason was I was kind of calling out for somebody to write a book that made introverts understand that they can succeed in sales. And as a matter of fact, the general thesis is that introverts can actually outsell extroverts hands down if they have a planned presentation. And the whole goal of the book was really to make it accessible, because as an introvert, you may not feel comfortable learning the sales process. So I wanted this to be entertaining. So the book's written like a novel. It talks you through the sales process, but it does it with entertaining stories of different people learning the process and taking on valuable lessons. So the goal is that it's super entertaining. You learn the sales process, and over time, it breaks down those barriers to help you understand that really sales is possible for anybody if they've got a planned presentation, and that extroverts, while they have an advantage up front, introverts, if they focus on a structured process, over time, they'll be those extroverted salespeople hands down.
Got it. So I know a little bit about your background, and I know that you weren't always like this. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about just your background and what compelled you to write the book.
Definitely. I mean, so for me, I had a reading speed of a 6th grader in late high school. I was horribly introverted, and there are photos I use in my presentation of me with really bad acne. And the reason for it is I need people to see me as I was rather than as I am now, because people see me on stage and like, that person has the gift of gab, or that person's natural on stage. And when I first started in sales, well, I never planned on being in sales. Because of my disabilities, I struggled in school, and while I got into the top 20% of my state, I really struggled every single step of the way. And because of that, I took a job at a real estate agency, and not the guy out selling, the guy doing data entry in the back office with a look on my face saying, "Don't talk to me, I'm here to find myself." And then I lost my job just before Christmas, and the only job I could get in Australia, we take a month off, it's our summer and Christmas at the same time, was commission-only sales. So after 5 days product training and not a single second of sales training, I got thrown on a street that had thousands of doors on it and got told to go sell. And I mean, that was terrifying for me. But door after door, I got rejected. I got told to get a real job, things like that, sworn at even. And on the 93rd door, I made my first sale. And after making that sale, I mean, I was ecstatic for like 45 seconds. And then I realized I've got to do this every single day for the rest of the year. And for me, that wasn't okay. So I actually taught myself how to sell using YouTube videos, because, reading speed of a 6th grader, I wasn't picking up a Brian Tracy or a Zig Ziglar book, but I'd spend 8 hours going and selling, and then 8 hours learning how to sell more effectively. I forced myself to believe that it was a process, and I focused on each element over time. And day after day, I got better. Soon it was 48 doors, and then 32 doors, and then 8 doors, and then 3 doors. About 6 weeks in, my manager pulls me aside and says, "Matt, I'm kind of blown away by this, but you're actually the #1 salesperson in the company." And it took 6 weeks. So one of the things that I really want people to understand is it actually didn't take very long to go from having no business, really terrified, to being in sales, to after that training a bunch of people on how to do it my way. Now I get the opportunity to teach thousands. So from scared to sell to teaching thousands how to do it, really from 6 weeks of really dedicated effort, I've been benefiting from that my entire life.
That's great. So I know that we're here right now at Microsoft Inspire, which is a large partner conference put on by Microsoft here in Las Vegas. But I'm also excited that you're going to be a featured speaker during the AA-ISP Leadership Summit in April of next year. So can you share a little bit more about what you covered here at Inspire this week and what you plan to cover during the Leadership Summit?
Definitely. So for me, obviously talking about introverts in sales is one of my most favorite things to talk about. And that's what I did from the featured stage at Inspire. I helped introverts understand that they too could sell. And if they understood it as a process like any other, then they really can become sales masters and outsell pretty much everybody else. However, the biggest feature for me is helping people understand the power of story. You know, the simple facts that people can remember 22 times more information when embedded into a story. It creates natural rapport between the teller and the listener of a story. It's just in our brain chemistry, it creates that rapport, which gives you an amazing advantage. And it also diffuses the logical mind, and you get to speak directly to the emotional mind, which is the part of the brain that's buying. So because of all these really powerful things, it gives introverts and all salespeople a major advantage. And that's what I'm sharing on the stage at AA-ISP. I'm going to be sharing the psychology of and the science behind why story works, and then actually take that into real tangible benefits of how a big corporate organization can utilize what I call a story playbook, which is well-articulated stories that can be shared authentically with a customer or a prospective customer, or even a prospect that you're cold calling, to allow you to get more appointments, shorter sales cycles, and higher, more profitable sales. Because by using story, it all of a sudden changes the whole conversation. And one of the things that I really, really like about storytelling is, for a lot of people, I find, especially in technology, this happens, is that technology is growing so quickly. So we need to hire all of these salespeople continuously. And because of that, a lot of times we're going to universities and we're hiring people fresh that have never sold before. And a lot of these people feel like fish out of water. So by learning by how to do a story playbook, you take the talented salespeople, best of breed, grab their best stories and share that with the new people. And it's this thing I do where I share a story from stage of a story from a masterful salesperson, and then share that story like I work for that company. And I'll be doing something similar at AA-ISP. And the goal is for people to go, wow, he must have 15 years experience at that organization. And for then people to find out I probably wrote it 4 or 5 weeks ago. And all the technology words, you know, all those little things that make no sense to anyone that's not in the industry, I generally pull out a card and say, and by the way, I had to figure out what all these words meant last night before I came and did the presentation, or just memorize them. So it's a really great presentation for helping people see just how quickly people can take on stories and just how much of an impact that can have on an organization's bottom line.
Great. Well, I'm excited to hear you speak next year. I'm excited to read your book, and thanks so much for sharing a little bit about your background with me and the community today. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me.